The Great Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with nervous energy. Thousands of alien beings filled the massive chamber, their voices creating a symphony of clicks, whistles, and electronic sounds. At the center of it all stood Ambassador Zethkar, his blue-scaled skin glistening under the bright lights. Zethkar belonged to the Vorthan Empire, one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy. His people had conquered dozens of star systems and brought peace through strength. Today, however, he looked worried as he prepared to address the council. "Honored delegates," Zethkar began, his voice carrying through the translation devices worn by every being present. "I bring urgent news from the Outer Rim territories. The species we have been monitoring in the Sol system has achieved faster than light travel." A wave of murmurs swept through the chamber. The Sol system was marked in red on all galactic maps. Every spacefaring civilization knew the simple rule: stay away from Sol 3, also known as Earth. "They call themselves humans," Zethkar continued. "Our long-range sensors show they have expanded beyond their home planet. They now control 17 star systems and are building more ships every day." Elder Counselor Yixara slowly rose from her position at the high podium. She was ancient, even by the standards of her long-lived species. Her green plant-like skin had witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations. When she spoke, everyone listened. "The warning stands as it has for 3,000 years, Yixara said, her voice filled with authority. "No council species shall enter human space. No contact shall be made. They must develop without our interference." Young Counselor Drakesh of the Hegemony stood up quickly. He was barely past his first century, considered a child by galactic standards. His red eyes burned with curiosity and ambition. "Elder Yixara, with respect, perhaps it is time to reconsider," Drakesh said. "Any species that achieves interstellar travel deserves our attention. Our scouts report that humans show remarkable intelligence and adaptability." The chamber fell silent. Many of the younger delegates nodded in agreement. They had grown up hearing stories about the mysterious humans but had never understood why contact was forbidden. Yixara's skin darkened to a deep forest green, a sign of great concern among her people. "Young Drakesh, you do not understand the history. You did not live through the last time someone made contact with humans." "What happened?" Drakesh asked, his voice challenging. "Surely our technology is superior to theirs. They only recently developed space travel." Ambassador Zethkar shifted uncomfortably. His own government had been pushing for contact with the humans for decades. The Vorthan Empire believed that superior firepower could handle any threat. "Tell them, Zethkar," Yixara said, turning to the Vorthan ambassador. "Tell them about the Krill Syndicate." Zethkar's scales turned pale blue, a sign of fear among his people. The Krill Syndicate was a powerful organization. They controlled trade routes across 50 systems. They had the most advanced military fleet in the galaxy at that time. Drakesh pressed. "They made contact with humans approximately 800 years ago," Zethkar continued. "The Krill sent their entire battle fleet to Earth, 300 ships, each one capable of destroying a planet." The chamber was completely quiet now. Even the translation devices seemed to whisper. "What happened to them?" asked Counselor Miratel of the Aquatic Federation. Zethkar's voice became barely audible. "They vanished. All 300 ships. No distress calls, no wreckage, no survivors. The humans later sent a simple message to the Krill homeworld. 'Thank you for the donation.' 'Have a nice day,' several delegates gasped. Others began talking excitedly among themselves. "That's impossible," Drakesh protested. "Primitive species cannot defeat advanced fleets." Elder Yixara raised one of her long, branch-like arms for silence. "That is what makes humans different. They do not fight like other species. They do not follow the rules of civilized warfare." She activated a holographic display that showed images from the Council's historical archives. The pictures were old and grainy, taken by long-range sensors over many centuries. "We have watched humans for thousands of years," Yixara explained. "We have seen them fight wars that would destroy any other species. They have survived ice ages, asteroid impacts, plagues, and their own nuclear weapons." The hologram showed scenes of human conflicts throughout history, battles with primitive weapons, then advanced technology, then weapons that could crack planets. "Look at how they wage war," Yixara continued. "They do not simply try to win. They study their enemies, learn from every defeat, and adapt faster than any species we have ever encountered." Counselor Vexon of the Crystal Collective spoke up. But surely our combined fleets could handle them if necessary. Could they? Yixara asked. The Krill thought the same thing. They were wrong. The humans did not just defeat the Krill fleet. They made it disappear so completely that we are still not sure how they did it. Ambassador Zethkar stepped forward again. My government has been monitoring human expansion for the past 50 years. They build ships faster than we thought possible. Their technology advances at an incredible rate. And most concerning of all, he paused, looking around the chamber nervously. Most concerning of all, they seem to be holding back. Our analysis suggests that their current military capabilities are far beyond what they should be able to achieve with their level of development. What do you mean? Drakesh demanded. We believe they are deliberately limiting themselves, Zethkar replied, as if they learned something from their own history that makes them cautious about using their full power. Elder Yixura nodded slowly. Exactly. That is what makes them truly dangerous. A species that has learned to control its own destructive impulses is far more threatening than one that simply destroys everything in its path. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some delegates argued for immediate military action. Others suggested diplomatic overtures. A few supported maintaining the ancient policy of isolation. Silence, Yixara commanded. The warning exists for good reason. Humans are not like other species. They do not conquer for territory or resources. They fight for ideas, for principles, for concepts that other species cannot even understand. She looked directly at each of the younger delegates. They have something that we have never encountered before. They call it determination. When humans decide that something must be done, they do not stop until it is accomplished. Not for years, not for decades, not for centuries. But Elder, Drakesh said, how can we know if they are a threat if we never make contact? Yixara's ancient eyes seemed to look into the far distance. Because, young one, they are already making contact with us. Our sensor networks have detected human ships at the edge of Council space. They know we exist. They are watching us just as we have watched them. Then why haven't they made contact? Asked Counselor Trixana. Because, Yixara replied, they are waiting for us to be ready. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the exploration ship New Frontier, watching the stars through the large viewing screen. His crew was conducting a routine survey of the Kepler 442 system, mapping planets and checking for valuable resources. It was supposed to be a quiet mission, far from the busy trade routes and political tensions of human space. Morrison was a veteran of the Outer Colony Wars, where he had learned that space was never as peaceful as it looked. He kept his brown hair cut short in military fashion, and always wore his uniform properly pressed. His crew respected him because he kept them alive and treated them fairly. Captain, called out Communications Officer Lisa Park from her station, I'm picking up multiple contacts on long-range sensors. Large ships coming from the direction of the Galactic core. Morrison walked over to her station and looked at the display. 37 distinct signatures, each one much larger than any human vessel. The readings showed energy patterns that were completely unfamiliar. How long until they reach us? Morrison asked. At their current speed, about 2 hours, replied Navigator Tony Clark. Sir, these ships are huge. Each one is at least 3 times the size of our largest dreadnoughts. Morrison nodded calmly. He had been expecting something like this for years. Earth's expansion had been rapid, and everyone knew they would eventually encounter other intelligent species. The question was whether that encounter would be friendly or hostile. Battle stations, Morrison ordered, but keep weapons powered down. Let's see what they want before we make any assumptions. Tactical Officer Rick Hayes began running diagnostics on all weapon systems. He was younger than Morrison, but had proven himself in several dangerous situations. His steady hands and quick thinking had saved the ship more than once. Sir, Hayes reported, all systems are ready. Should I activate the stealth generators? Not yet, Morrison replied. Let them see us. I want to know their intentions. An hour later, the alien ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. They formed a perfect battle formation, surrounding the New Frontier from all directions. Each ship was sleek and powerful, with energy readings that suggested advanced weapons and shields. Captain, Lisa Park announced, they're broadcasting on multiple frequencies. The translation computer is working on their language. Morrison watched as the alien fleet moved closer. Their ships had a graceful design that suggested a species with advanced technology, and significant experience in space warfare. He felt a familiar tension in his stomach, the same feeling he had experienced before every major battle. "Translation complete, sir," Park reported. "They're sending what appears to be a formal surrender demand." "Put it on speakers," Morrison ordered, the bridge filled with an alien voice speaking perfect English, though with a strange accent. "Human vessel, you will surrender immediately for processing and evaluation. Resistance is inadvisable and will result in your destruction. The Vorthan Empire claims this system by right of superior technology and galactic law." Morrison exchanged glances with Rick Hayes. Both men had fought in wars where surrender meant death or slavery. They had learned never to give up without a fight. "Open a channel," Morrison said calmly. "Channel open." Sir Morrison spoke clearly and firmly. "Unknown vessels, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the Terran Federation starship New Frontier. You are in violation of human territorial space. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." The response came quickly. "Impossible. Our historical records indicate that your species achieved faster than light travel only recently. You cannot possess territorial claims in this region. Prepare for boarding operations." Morrison smiled grimly. These aliens had done their homework, but their information was incomplete. Humans had been expanding much faster than most people realized, using advanced technology that had been developed in secret military programs. "Lisa, send a priority message to Fleet Command," Morrison ordered. "Tell them we have first contact with a hostile alien force. Request immediate assistance." "Message sent, sir," Park replied. "Response incoming. Admiral Sullivan acknowledges and reports that support is already in position." Morrison nodded. The human military had learned long ago to prepare for every possibility. If aliens were monitoring human expansion, then humans were certainly monitoring alien activities as well. "Rick," Morrison said to his tactical officer, "power up the quantum drive but keep it in standby mode. If these visitors want a demonstration of human technology, we'll give them one they won't forget." The alien fleet began moving closer, their energy weapons charging for battle. Morrison could see smaller ships launching from the larger vessels, probably boarding craft filled with soldiers. "Captain," Hayes reported, "I'm detecting quantum signatures in the area. 3 large contacts running silent." Morrison's smile widened. Admiral Sullivan had not been bluffing. Somewhere nearby, invisible to alien sensors, 3 human dreadnoughts were waiting for his signal. "Sir," Lisa Park announced, "the aliens are demanding our immediate surrender. They say they will disable our ship and take our crew for interrogation." Morrison walked to the center of the bridge and straightened his uniform. "Open a channel to the alien flagship. Channel open. This is Captain Morrison. I want to make something very clear to you. You have 30 seconds to withdraw from this system. If you do not comply, you will face the full response of the human military." The alien voice replied with what sounded like laughter. "Captain Morrison, your single ship cannot threaten our entire fleet. We have studied your species. You are brave but primitive." Morrison looked at Rick Hayes and nodded. "Rick, activate the quantum beacon. Let our friends know it's time to join the party." Suddenly, 3 massive human warships appeared around the alien fleet. The dreadnoughts Defiance, Indomitable, and Rising Dawn materialized as if they had been created from empty space itself. Each ship was larger than anything the aliens had brought, and their energy signatures showed weapons that operated on principles the aliens clearly did not understand. "What? How is this possible?" came the shocked alien voice. Morrison's voice remained calm and professional. "This is your final warning. Withdraw from human space immediately, or we will consider your presence an act of war." The alien fleet began to move away from the human ships, but slowly, as if they were trying to analyze the new threat. "Captain," Hayes reported, "the alien ships are charging weapons. They're preparing to attack." Morrison sighed. He had hoped for a peaceful resolution, but experience had taught him that some conflicts could only be resolved through force. "All ships," Morrison broadcast on the military frequency, "the aliens have chosen to fight. Show them what happens when someone threatens human space. But remember the rules of engagement: disable, don't destroy. We want survivors to carry the message back to their government." The battle that followed was unlike anything the aliens had ever experienced. Human weapons phased through their shields as if they did not exist. Human ships moved with impossible speed and agility. Within minutes, 17 alien vessels were disabled. their weapons destroyed and their engines offline. Alien flagship, Morrison broadcast. Your fleet is defeated. We are prepared to destroy you completely, but we prefer a different option. You will return to your government and deliver a message. What? What message? The alien commander asked, his voice filled with shock and fear. Morrison's expression became serious. Tell your superiors that Earth remembers every species that was denied membership in galactic civilization. Tell them we keep very detailed records, and tell them that humans are ready to talk but only as equals. The remaining alien ships limped away from the system, carrying with them the first report of human military capabilities that any galactic government had ever received. Morrison watched them go, knowing that everything would change now. Set course for Earth, he ordered. Admiral Sullivan will want a full report. As the new frontier headed home, Morrison wondered what kind of galaxy his children would inherit. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood in the war room of the orbital fortress Titan's Wrath, studying the three-dimensional holographic display that showed the entire Kepler 442 system. The blue and red dots representing human and alien ships moved slowly through space, but Sullivan knew that the real battle was being fought with information and strategy rather than weapons. Sullivan had gray hair that she kept pulled back in a tight bun, and her blue eyes had seen more combat than most people could imagine. She had fought in the Mars Rebellion, the Asteroid Belt Wars, and dozens of smaller conflicts that had shaped human expansion into space. Now at age 55, she commanded the largest military force humanity had ever assembled. Admiral, called Dr. Alan Foster from his position at the science station. Foster was the fleet's chief technology analyst, a thin man with thick glasses who understood alien technology better than anyone else in human space. We've completed our analysis of the Vorthan ships. Sullivan walked over to examine Foster's data. The holographic display showed detailed scans of the alien vessels, highlighting their weapons, shields, and propulsion systems. What's your assessment, Doctor? Sullivan asked. Foster adjusted his glasses and pointed to various parts of the alien ship designs. Their technology is impressive but predictable. They use standard plasma drives for propulsion, particle beam weapons for offense, and energy shields for defense. Everything follows conventional galactic engineering principles. Conventional? Sullivan raised an eyebrow. Yes, ma'am. It appears that most galactic civilizations developed along similar technological paths. They discovered faster-than-light travel, energy weapons, and defensive shields in roughly the same order and using similar methods. Sullivan nodded thoughtfully. Humans had taken a very different approach to technological development, largely because of their history of constant warfare. While other species had apparently developed space technology for exploration and trade, humans had created it primarily for military purposes. Commander Torres, Sullivan called to the tall, dark-haired man standing near the tactical display. Ben Torres commanded the 5th Fleet's Rapid Response Units, the ships that could appear anywhere in human space within hours of receiving orders. Yes, Admiral, Torres replied, walking over to join the conversation. How long have your ships been shadowing the Vorthan fleet? Sullivan asked. Torres smiled slightly. Since approximately 6 hours after they entered our sensor network. The Defiance, Indomitable, and Rising Dawn have been tracking them using stealth generators. The aliens never detected our presence. This was typical of human military doctrine. Earth's forces had learned to monitor everything that moved through their territory, using sensor networks that extended far beyond official human space. Most alien civilizations apparently announced their presence when entering a system. Humans preferred to watch and wait. Admiral, came Captain Morrison's voice through the quantum communication link. Morrison was still in the Kepler 442 system, dealing with the aftermath of the encounter with the Vorthan fleet. The aliens are requesting permission to collect their damaged ships and withdraw from the system. Sullivan considered the request. The human fleet had disabled 17 alien vessels without destroying them, following standard rules of engagement that emphasized minimal casualties when possible. This approach often confused enemies who expected humans to fight with the same brutal efficiency they used against each other. Granted, Sullivan replied, but make sure they understand that this was a warning, not our full response capability. Dr. Foster looked up from his analysis. Admiral, there's something else you should know about the alien technology. Based on their energy signatures and weapon designs, I estimate that their military capabilities are roughly equivalent to what humans possessed about 15 years ago. Sullivan was not surprised. Human technology advanced rapidly because of constant competition between different military branches, private corporations, and government research programs. The drive to gain advantage over human enemies had pushed technological development far beyond what any peaceful species would need. "Commander Torres," Sullivan said, "what's the status of our stealth reconnaissance programs?" Torres pulled up another holographic display showing human ship positions throughout known space. Red dots marked the locations of scout vessels that were invisible to most forms of detection. "We currently have eyes on 47 alien civilizations," Torres reported. "Most of them don't know we exist, but we've been monitoring their military capabilities, trade routes, and political structures for decades." This intelligence network had been established shortly after humans achieved faster-than-light travel. Military planners had realized that humanity would eventually encounter other species, and they wanted to be prepared for any situation. The scouts used advanced cloaking technology and passive sensors to observe alien civilizations without making contact. "What have we learned about galactic politics?" Sullivan asked. Dr. Foster activated a different display showing the political structure of known space. "It appears that most species belong to something called the Galactic Council, which functions as a loose alliance for trade and mutual defense. They have specific rules about contact with developing civilizations, rules that apparently don't apply to them," Sullivan observed dryly. "That's what makes this situation interesting," Foster continued. "Our analysis suggests that the Vorthon Empire was acting independently when they entered our space. The Galactic Council seems to have a policy of avoiding contact with humans specifically." Sullivan found this puzzling. "Any idea why?" "Not yet, but we're working on it. What we do know is that several alien civilizations have records dating back thousands of years that specifically mention Earth and humans. They seem to know more about us than we know about them." Commander Torres spoke up. "Admiral, should we consider this an act of war?" "The Vorthons did enter our space with hostile intent." Sullivan shook her head. "No. This was likely a probe, possibly unauthorized by their government. Our response should be measured but clear. We want them to understand our capabilities without starting a galactic war." She turned to Dr. Foster. "Doctor, I want you to prepare a complete analysis of everything we learned from this encounter. I'll be briefing the President and the Joint Chiefs within the hour." "Yes, ma'am." Sullivan walked back to the main tactical display, where she could see the positions of human fleets throughout known space. Humanity controlled 17 star systems officially, but human influence extended much further through trade agreements, defense pacts, and covert operations. "Admiral," Torres said quietly, "what do you think will happen now? Word of this encounter will spread through alien governments pretty quickly." Sullivan considered the question carefully. "Commander, humans have been preparing for this moment since we first left Earth. We've built our military assuming that we would eventually face threats with superior numbers and established territories. But we also have advantages that these aliens don't understand, such as unity of command, rapid technological advancement, and most importantly, the willingness to do whatever is necessary to protect our people. Other species seem to fight for territory or resources. Humans fight for survival and principles." The quantum communication system activated again, bringing Morrison's voice from the distant star system. "Admiral, the Vorthon ships are preparing to leave. Their commander asked me to pass along a message. They want to arrange formal diplomatic contact between our governments." Sullivan smiled grimly. "Tell Captain Morrison to inform the Vorthon commander that we appreciate their interest in diplomacy, but also make it clear that any future meetings will take place on human terms, in human space with human security protocols." "Understood, Admiral." As the communication ended, Sullivan looked around the war room at her staff. These people had spent their careers preparing for conflicts with other humans. Now they faced the challenge of applying those lessons to an entire galaxy full of alien civilizations. "Gentlemen," she announced, "I think it's time to let the galaxy know that humanity is ready to take its place among the stars. But we'll do it our way, not theirs." The message was clear. Humans would not be conquered, intimidated, or ignored. They had survived and thrived in the harshest conditions their own planet could provide. Now they were ready to see what challenges the galaxy had to offer. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything most delegates had ever witnessed. The great chamber buzzed with panic and confusion, as representatives from hundreds of species tried to understand the reports coming from the Vorthan Empire. Ambassador Zethkar stood at the center of the chaos, his blue scales now pale with shock and his left arm missing. From what the medical reports called precision energy weapon damage, young Counselor Drakesh stared at the tactical data being displayed on the main holographic screen. The numbers made no sense to him. According to the Vorthan reports, a single human ship had somehow disabled 17 advanced warships without taking any damage itself. This cannot be accurate, Drakesh protested, his red eyes wide with disbelief. No primitive species possesses this level of military capability. Your sensors must have malfunctioned. Ambassador Zethkar turned to face the young counselor, his remaining arm shaking with rage and fear. Primitive? Counselor, I was there. I watched human weapons pass through our shields as if they were made of empty space. I saw ships appear from nowhere and disappear again, before our targeting systems could lock onto them. Emergency Counselor Vixaran of the Maritime Alliance activated her translation device and spoke in the bubbling language of her aquatic species. Ambassador Zethkar, please provide a detailed account of the encounter. The Council needs to understand exactly what happened. Zethkar moved to the center of the chamber, his movements careful and deliberate. The injury to his arm had clearly affected his balance, but his voice remained strong as he began his report. The operation was planned as a standard annexation mission, he began. Our intelligence indicated that humans had recently achieved faster-than-light travel and were expanding into unclaimed territory. By galactic law, any species that enters established trade routes without Council authorization may be subjected to protective custody. Elder Counselor Yigzara, who had remained silent during the chaos, slowly stood from her position. Her ancient green skin had darkened to almost black, a sign of extreme concern among her people. Continue, she said quietly. Zethkar activated his own holographic display, showing the tactical formation his fleet had used. We approached the human vessel using standard intimidation protocols. 37 ships arranged in a containment pattern, weapons charged but not targeting. We expected immediate surrender. The display showed the positions of the Vorthan ships around the much smaller human vessel. To any observer, it looked like an impossible situation for the humans. The human captain responded with a territorial claim. Zethkar continued. He stated that we were in violation of human space and demanded our withdrawal. When we explained that primitive species cannot possess territorial claims, he became aggressive. Counselor Miratel of the Aquatic Federation leaned forward in her tank. Aggressive how? He warned us that we had 30 seconds to leave or face the full response of the human military. We naturally assumed this was an empty threat from a desperate captain. The holographic display changed to show what happened next. 3 massive shapes appeared around the Vorthan fleet, ships that were larger than anything in the known galaxy. Where did these ships come from? Drakesh demanded. We don't know, Zethkar admitted. Our sensors showed empty space one moment, then these vessels were simply there. No energy signatures, no faster-than-light wake, no warning at all. Dr. Synthara, the Council's chief military analyst, stood up from her position in the scientific section. She was a tall, insect-like being whose species had developed some of the most advanced sensor technology in the galaxy. Ambassador, Dr. Synthara said, our analysis of your sensor records shows several impossible readings. The human weapons appear to operate on principles that violate known physical laws. Zethkar nodded grimly. That was our assessment as well. Their energy beams passed through our shields without any interaction whatsoever. It was as if our defensive systems simply did not exist. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Every species in the Council relied on energy shields for protection. If humans possessed weapons that could ignore such defenses, then no existing military force could stand against them. How many ships did you lose? Asked Counselor Krixvar of the Silicon Collective. None, Zethkar replied, causing another wave of shocked murmurs. That's what makes this encounter so disturbing. The humans disabled our weapons, our engines, and our life support systems, but they left our communication arrays intact. They wanted us to survive. They wanted us to report back. Elder Counselor Yixara walked slowly to the center of the chamber. Her ancient form moved with difficulty, but her presence commanded absolute attention. What message did they give you? She asked. Zethkar's scales turned an even paler shade of blue. The human captain said to tell the council that Earth remembers every species that was denied membership. He said they keep detailed records and that humans are ready to talk but only as equals. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some delegates argued for immediate military action. Others suggested attempting diplomatic contact. A few called for complete isolation from human space. Silence, Yixara commanded. There is more to this report. Continue, Ambassador. Zethkar activated another section of his display, showing energy readings from the human ships. Our analysis suggests that the humans were deliberately limiting their capabilities during the encounter. The power signatures we detected indicate weapons and defensive systems far beyond what they actually used against us. Dr. Synthera stood again. Are you suggesting that this was not their full military response? I'm stating it as fact, Zethkar replied. The humans could have destroyed our entire fleet within minutes. Instead, they chose to disable us and send us home with a message. This was a demonstration, not a battle. Councillor Drakesh was still struggling to accept the reports. Even if this is true, surely our combined fleets could handle a single species. We have thousands of ships from dozens of civilizations. Elder Yixara turned to face the young councillor directly. Drakesh, how many ships do you think the humans have? Based on their expansion rate and industrial capacity, perhaps a few hundred, Drakesh replied. Our long-range reconnaissance indicates otherwise, Yixara said. We estimate that humans currently operate more than 10,000 military vessels of various sizes. And they are building more every day. The number was staggering. Most council species maintained fleets of a few dozen ships at most. Only the largest military powers possessed more than 1,000 vessels. How is that possible? Councillor Vixran asked. Dr. Synthera answered. Our analysis of human industrial capacity suggests that they have converted their entire civilization to support military expansion. Every human colony, every space station, every mining operation is contributing to their war machine. War machine? Miratel questioned. Yes, Synthera confirmed. Humans appear to have developed their spacefaring civilization specifically for military purposes. Their technology, their industrial base, their social structure. Everything is optimized for warfare on a galactic scale. Elder Councillor Yixara nodded slowly. This is why the ancient warnings existed. Previous councils understood that humans were different from other species. They do not expand for territory or resources. They expand because they expect to be attacked. Attacked by whom? Drakesh asked. By everyone, Yixara replied. Human history shows a species that has always been surrounded by enemies. They have never known true peace. They have developed the assumption that conflict is inevitable, so they prepare for war constantly. Ambassador Zethkar spoke again. There's something else. During our encounter, human reinforcements appeared within minutes of the initial contact. Their response time suggests a communication and transportation network far more advanced than anything we possess. What do you recommend? Councillor Krixvar asked. Zethkar looked around the chamber at the assembled delegates. I recommend that we take the humans very seriously. They offered to talk as equals. In my opinion, we should accept that offer before they decide that talking is no longer necessary. The chamber fell silent again as everyone considered the implications. For the first time in galactic history, the Council faced a species that possessed superior military technology and the willingness to use it. Elder Councillor Yixara spoke one final time. The age of Council dominance may be ending. The question now is whether we will adapt to this new reality or be replaced by it. The vote for emergency diplomatic contact with humanity passed by a narrow margin. The galaxy would never be the same. Professor Emma Watson stood at the entrance to the Galactic Council chambers, looking up at the massive doors that had witnessed thousands of years of interstellar politics. She was humanity's first official ambassador to the galaxy, a woman in her 40s with brown hair and intelligent green eyes who had spent her career studying alien cultures through long-range observations and intercepted communications. Watson wore a simple blue diplomatic uniform rather than military dress, and she carried only a small data tablet containing humanity's formal response to the Council's request for contact. Behind her stood Captain Morrison and 3 other humans, but no guards or weapons were visible. The great doors opened slowly, revealing the enormous chamber filled with hundreds of alien beings. Watson walked forward calmly, her footsteps echoing in the sudden silence that fell over the assembly. She had studied each of the major species represented here, learning their customs and communication styles through decades of careful observation. "Honored counselors," Watson began, her voice carrying clearly through the translation matrix that had been updated to handle human languages. "I am Professor Emma Watson, representing the United Earth Federation and all human colonies. We appreciate this opportunity to address your concerns about humanity's place in galactic society." Elder Counselor Yixara, still showing the dark green coloration that indicated deep concern among her people, spoke first. "Professor Watson, your species has demonstrated hostile capabilities toward Council member states. How do you respond to these accusations?" Watson smiled slightly and activated her data tablet, projecting a holographic display above the chamber floor. "Elder Yixara, with respect, I believe there has been a misunderstanding about recent events in the Kepler 442 system. The hologram showed the tactical situation from multiple angles, including data from both human and Vorthon sensors." Watson gestured to the display as she continued speaking. "The Vorthon Empire sent 37 military vessels into territory that has been claimed and actively patrolled by human forces for more than 20 years. These ships approached our exploration vessel with weapons charged and demanded surrender for what they called processing and evaluation." Young Counselor Drakesh leaned forward aggressively. "Your forces destroyed a peaceful exploration fleet." Watson turned to face Drakesh directly. "Counselor, with respect, we destroyed nothing. Every Vorthon ship was disabled and allowed to return home safely. If humanity had intended destruction, this conversation would not be taking place." She changed the holographic display to show the current status of the Vorthon ships that had participated in the encounter. "All 17 disabled vessels have been repaired and returned to active duty. The only casualties were the result of Ambassador Zethkar's own actions when he attempted to activate a self-destruct device rather than accept capture." Ambassador Zethkar, still recovering from his injuries, spoke from his position near the Vorthon delegation. "The humans could have killed us all. Their weapons made our defenses useless. Why did they show mercy?" Watson nodded appreciatively at the question. "That brings us to the real purpose of this meeting. You see, the Galactic Council has been operating under several incorrect assumptions about humanity." She activated a new holographic display showing Earth's history from space-based observations. The images showed the planet's development over thousands of years, including the rise and fall of civilizations, massive wars, natural disasters, and the gradual expansion into space. "Your predecessors on this council watched our species for millennia," Watson explained. "They observed our development through ice ages, asteroid impacts, volcanic eruptions, and numerous global conflicts. They saw us develop nuclear weapons before nuclear power, biological warfare before medical cures, and artificial intelligence before ethical frameworks." Elder Counselor Yixara stood slowly, her ancient form showing signs of sudden understanding. "The warning in our archives. It was never about protecting other species from human aggression." "Exactly," Watson confirmed. "Your predecessors understood something that the current council seems to have forgotten. The warning was protection for us, not from us. They wanted humanity to develop without external interference." Counselor Miratel of the Aquatic Federation spoke from her tank. "But why? What made humans different from other developing species?" Watson changed the display to show a comparison between human development and that of other galactic civilizations. Most species develop space travel for exploration, trade, or expansion into new territory. Humans developed it because we needed to survive. The hologram showed humanity's progression from a single planet to 17 star systems, but also included data about resource depletion, overpopulation, and environmental damage that had driven the expansion. "We didn't reach for the stars because we were curious," Watson continued. "We reached for them because staying on Earth meant extinction. Every human colony, every space station, every ship was built by people who understood that failure meant death." Dr. Synthara, the Council's military analyst, stood up from her position. "Are you saying that human military capabilities were developed for survival rather than conquest?" "I'm saying that humans learned to treat every problem as a potential threat to species survival," Watson replied. "When we developed faster-than-light travel, we assumed that we would encounter hostile aliens. When we built our first colonies, We designed them to withstand military attacks. When we created our government structure, we organized it for rapid response to existential threats. The chamber was completely quiet now. Watson could see understanding beginning to dawn on the faces of many delegates. The ancient council made a critical decision. Watson continued. They could have made contact with humanity at any point in our development. They could have shared technology, offered guidance, or demanded submission. Instead, they chose to let us grow up. Captain Morrison stepped forward and spoke for the first time. The thing is, we appreciate what your predecessors did for us. They gave us the greatest gift possible, the chance to learn from our own mistakes. Watson nodded and activated a final holographic display showing current human capabilities. Humanity now possesses technology that could destroy entire star systems. We have weapons that could sterilize planets, ships that could blockade trade routes, and industrial capacity that could outproduce most of your civilizations combined. Several delegates began talking nervously among themselves, but Watson raised her hand for silence. But we also learned something during our development that most species never experience. We learned the cost of using such power irresponsibly. We nearly destroyed ourselves a dozen times before we reached the stars. Elder Counselor Yixara spoke with newfound respect. You developed wisdom before you developed the ultimate weapons. More than that, Watson replied. We developed restraint. When the Vorthon fleet entered our space, our military response was carefully calculated to demonstrate capability without causing unnecessary destruction. We could have vaporized every ship in seconds. Instead, we chose to disable them and send them home with a message. Counselor Drakesh, who had been quiet during this exchange, finally spoke. What message? Captain Morrison answered, that humanity is ready to take its place in galactic society, but only as equals. We will not be conquered, intimidated, or treated as primitive, but we also will not conquer others unless they force us to defend ourselves. Watson looked around the chamber at the assembled delegates. Humans don't want to rule the galaxy. We want to explore it, learn from it, and contribute to it. But we will defend ourselves, our allies, and our principles with everything we have. She gestured to the tactical display still showing human fleet positions. The choice of how this relationship develops is entirely yours. You can accept humanity as an equal partner in galactic civilization, or you can treat us as a threat to be contained. And if we choose the second option? Asked Counselor Krixvar. Morrison's expression became serious. Then you'll discover that humans are very good at proving people right when they treat us as enemies. Elder Counselor Yixara walked slowly to the center of the chamber. Her ancient wisdom had finally grasped the full implications of humanity's emergence into galactic politics. The Council faces a simple choice, she announced to the Assembly. We can welcome a species that has learned to balance incredible power with hard-earned wisdom, or we can cling to old patterns of thinking and face the consequences. She turned to face Watson directly. Professor, humanity has earned the right to speak as equals in this chamber. I cast the first vote for formal diplomatic relations between the Galactic Council and the United Earth Federation. The vote that followed was not unanimous, but it was decisive. For the first time in galactic history, a species had joined the Council not as a supplicant or conquest, but as an equal partner who had proven their worthiness through strength tempered by restraint. As the session ended and delegates began filing out of the chamber, Watson remained behind with Captain Morrison and the other human representatives. Professor, Morrison said quietly, do you think this will actually lead to peace? Watson looked up at the vast chamber that had witnessed the birth of a new age in galactic politics. Captain, humans have spent their entire history learning that peace is not the absence of conflict.